Hi, it's Brad Truax from Eastman's Woodlands and Wildlife Committee. It's almost May, and we're going to be talking about bobcats this morning because very soon you may get to see bobcat kittens in the Eastman region. So let's get started here with the slideshow. Bobcats are members of the family that includes lynx and cougars. Note the latter are often called pumas, catamounts, or mountain lions. Bobcats are the most common wildcat in New Hampshire. Some Canada lynx have been seen in the northern parts of New Hampshire. And though there have been multiple claims about people seeing cougars or mountain lions in New Hampshire, there's been no confirmed physical evidence of their presence so far in New Hampshire. Again, bobcats are the smallest members of that family. They tend to weigh about 20 pounds and average about 30 inches in body length. Females are smaller, usually about 14 pounds. They stand about 18 inches high, and they have two key features, their tails and their ears. Their tails are quite short or bobbed, which is where the name bobcat comes from. They're roughly 4 to 7 inches compared to the longer tails that are seen in the other cats in this family. And there's a white underside to the tail. And their ears have very characteristic black tufts that stick out at the top of their ears. Here you see pictures. First of all, the bobtail right there. And you can see there's a white underside. And again, the tail is much shorter than you would see in a cougar or a lynx. And then the black ear tufts, which are very characteristic and help us differentiate a bobcat from other wildlife. Bobcats often walk very slowly as they stalk prey, but they can run as fast as 30 miles an hour. Sometimes they can run like a rabbit with their hind feet in the same place as their front feet. And they can also climb trees, either to hunt or to hide or even to sleep. And they've been said to leap as much as 10 to 12 feet. So they're very powerful little animals. They're also very good swimmers. They also have keen vision, hearing, and a sense of smell, in addition to their ability to slowly stalk and leap. And these all make them very excellent hunters. Bobcats blend into the environment. Bobcats' camouflaged fur makes it hard for both prey to see and for enemies to see. And the fur does change color depending on the season. The warmer months, the bobcat's fur is golden brown color with black stripes and spots. And during the winter, the fur becomes more grayish to match the color of the dead plants around it. There you can see a bobcat in winter, and obviously the coat is very gray there, and you can see how it pretty much matches these bare branches, the foliage around them. So bobcats are often seen near or on top of stone walls. Very interesting. And the reason they're there is that small mammals, which are their favorite prey, often inhabit these stone walls. And sometimes they use the stone walls simply as elevated corridors to cross while they're hunting. Bobcat's breeding season is between mid-January and early February, and the male and the female are usually together only for a short period of time, and they don't form any lasting bonds. The gestation period is 50 to 70 days, averaging about 62 days. So typically, a litter of 1 to 5 kittens is born in May. So we have early May right around the corner. The litter is often in a daybed that's covered by thick vegetation. Interestingly, 1 year ago, we were in North Carolina during the first week of May, and friends of ours saw what they thought was a small domestic kitten under a bush, only later to see a mother bobcat return to that kitten. So where do bobcats den? They make dens for breeding, storing food, protection from predators, and protection from the weather. The dens are also used for rest, sleep, and for play. They especially like to make their living place in rock formations and caves, but they may also den in a hollow tree or a log or a brush pile, and they may have multiple dens. This is showing a bobcat in a typical rock-based den. Again, they like rock formation and caves for the living space, and this protects them from other predators or from adverse weather conditions. So you see a bobcat here inside because there's snowstorm going on. Bobcats may be on the prowl year round, and as noted earlier, because their coat becomes a lighter gray that blends in with the bare plants in winter, they're camouflaged from their prey when it's winter. They don't mind the snow, but they don't like deep snow. And so they often stay sheltered during heavy snowstorms. And that's different from Canada lynx, which have larger padded feet that help them walk on top of snow. And they may be out in deeper snow than a bobcat would tolerate. So the presence of lynx actually puts bobcats at a disadvantage. Bobcats growing. As mammals, their mothers do feed the kittens milk. But as the kittens are weaned, the mother will find them meat that she brings back. And sometimes she'll bring back live animals so that the kittens can actually learn to hunt. And the offspring become independent at about age 10 to 12 months. And a bobcat's typical lifespan is 12 to 13 years. So it's a pretty long period of time. A typical bobcat range for a male bobcat is 14 to 25 square miles. For a female, it's probably about half of that. And depending on the richness of the habitat, it might even be much smaller. The amount of available prey largely determines the size of their habitat. And bobcats protect their territory through scent marking with urine, feces, and anal gland secretions. It's unclear how many bobcats we actually have here in Eastman. The most often seen one is about twice the size of a domestic cat, so it's probably a female. But we've seen new tracks in the snow at least a mile apart on the same morning, so it's quite likely we have multiple bobcats here at Eastman. What do bobcats eat? They're strict carnivores. They prey on mice, rats, squirrels, rabbits, hares, small birds, grouse, small reptiles, and amphibians. And you may see them around your bird feeders, but it's not for the seeds. It's for the small animals that might be there eating the seeds. And bobcats seldom attack animals that are bigger than themselves, but on very rare occasions, they may attack usually very small, sick deer. Those attacks have been documented. And they often stalk their prey from a distance, then slowly creep up and pounce on them, killing them with a single bite to the neck. They rarely attack humans, unlike some of their larger relatives. Scent marking. This is a video courtesy of Amy Hoffman, the bobcat here at Eastman. And you will see this bobcat both smelling scent and leaving scent. So here, again, this is probably a female based on the size. She's going over here. She's going to start sniffing. And all of a sudden, she's going to leave her own scent there. So here she's getting ready. There she's scenting here either with urine or anal gland secretions. And now she's moving off. You may notice right there, there's a bird feeder there. So she was probably hunting underneath that bird feeder. There are predators for the bobcat, but very few. Eagles, great horned owls, coyotes, fox, and bears may kill very young bobcats, and occasionally a male bobcat may kill young bobcats. And adult bobcats, though, usually are only killed by either fishers or by humans. Interestingly, there was a significant drop in the bobcat population in the early 2000s, and that coincided with the introduction of a new rat poison that subsequently has been banned. So the bobcat population has largely been restored. Bobcats do have competitors. We mentioned Canada lynx may compete with bobcats for similar prey. So bobcats tend to be less plentiful in areas where Canadian lynx are present. And other competitors for similar prey are the fox and the coyote. So bobcats are solitary animals. They're also crepuscular. Crepuscular means that they're most often seen at dusk and dawn. But at Eastman, we usually see them during the day, but that's probably simply because we see them better in the light. Bobcats do vocalize. They are usually silent, but they can produce deep howls, hisses, spitting noises when they defend a territory or perceive a threat. And because they're cats, they can also purr and rarely meow. And they're also said to make a high-pitched screaming sound when they're looking for a mate. And a cough bark is said to be unique to the bobcat. Now, also, a squall or a yell may occur when the bobcat is in pain. Bobcat tracks are interesting. This is showing some bobcat tracks right here. You'll notice that you can't see any claw marks there. So again, here's a bobcat track. Most feline tracks don't show any claws, and they have three lobes present on the heel pad. One, two, three. Also, at the front of the heel pad, they usually have two lobes. And there's a halo around this. You can roughly see this halo. That's probably from the fur around their paw. This again is just showing typical bobcat tracks. So once again, no claw marks. You're seeing one, two, three lobes here. And this is a pattern if the bobcat is walking slowly. Uh, this one shows the front foot at the bottom and the hind foot at the top. The male bobcat tracks are over on this side. So again, they're larger, the toes are rounder, and over here on this side are the female tracks. So they're smaller and they tend to be more oval, whereas these look round. These tend to look more oval. So they have narrower toes and less space there. And again, typically when we see tracks out in the snow or the mud, one of the first things we look for is claw marks. So canine tracks, so a dog track or a coyote track, you usually do see the claw marks. Whereas in a feline track, such as a cat track or a bobcat track, you tend not to see the claws. Similarly, when you look at the heel pads, over here, the canine tracks usually only have two lobes on the rear of the heel pad and one lobe at the front, whereas the feline tracks have three lobes at the rear and two lobes at the front of the heel pad. One of the other characteristic patterns is the X shape. So again, if you look at dog tracks, you can see roughly an X shape here. Whereas when you look at feline tracks, you do not see that X shape. Bobcat track patterns are interesting. This is one that was left here at Eastman, and you can see along here. The interesting thing, note how the narrow horizontal distance between these. It's almost like they're walking in a straight line. They look almost linear. And that's what we call direct registration. And that's where the hind foot is usually lands directly on top of the front track, called direct registration. And again, a bobcat that's moving slowly may have direct registration. Bobcats also like to sit down. So bobcats often sit on their haunches while they're stalking prey. You can see this bobcat doing that. And you can see evidence of this in the snow. So picture, here are the haunches back here, the rear paws, one front paw here, one front paw there. So that's a bobcat sit down. Another bobcat video courtesy of Amy Hoffman shows the bobcat back on his haunches, and then he gets up steadily, is stealthing to watch him. He's probably hunting for small prey under that bird feeder that we saw before. And again, based on the size, I'm suspecting this is probably a female bobcat, but there's no way to tell just by eyeballing that. Here she comes, walking very slowly, looking for prey. And you can't really see it in this picture, but this area is pretty much right under a bird feeder. So she's probably looking for, squirrels or mice or something that might be trying to eat some seeds that are on the ground underneath the bird feeder. Typical bobcat in the winter. Bobcat scat is something that we see. And again, the scat tends to be cylindrical and highly segmented. And usually it's about an inch in diameter. And it's often deposited in a scrape that's made by their hind feet. So, what do you do if you see a bobcat? Yeah, they're cute animals, but remember, they're wild animals, so don't approach them. Make sure that your small pets and children don't go near them. They've been known to attack small pets like cats and small dogs, but they seldom approach humans. If one did approach a human, such behavior would be unusual and might suggest that it could have rabies. And in the event you were attacked by a bobcat, you should seek medical attention immediately because of the consideration of rabies. So, if you want more information about bobcats, you can go to New Hampshire Fish and Game or the Alderleaf Wilderness College or the Massachusetts Department of Conservation, which we call Mass Wildlife. That's pretty much all that we have today. Uh, we're hoping that you've enjoyed this. Keep your eyes open in early May. You may get the rare visualization of bobcat kittens. Bye.